Hey Dan, Eric Rios here. Hey, listen, I was thinking about what you said the other day in the message you sent me that one of the biggest things you have are leads falling through the crack. So thinking about this with leads falling through the crack, my question is how do leads come into the office first of all? That's the very first thing I want to always ask is when they come into the office, how are the leads handled? Are they falling through the cracks with how they come to the office and how they're managed as soon as the lead is taken? Are they falling through the cracks once the lead has been dispatched to a technician and the technician goes out to a job, looks at the job, either gives an estimate, does an invoice, or does something with that lead, turns that into a customer? Or is this more of a lead issue where you get a lead and nothing happens with it? You don't close the lead, you have no sense of urgency with the lead, your CSRs don't really have the training or the know-how to really manage that lead when the lead comes in. So I think about this all the time because if you have an issue with when the lead comes in and the lead is not being managed correctly when the call is taken, now I could call your company very quickly and just see what it's like. That's an easy thing that we do this with clients all the time. What I want to know is, do they have the ability and the training to make sure that they're making the most of that lead when that lead comes in? That call costs you money. If they're not managing it correctly, then obviously it's going to create a giant challenge for your business. You're going to lose money right off the front, right off the bat, very quickly. So, is it a lead issue when it first comes in, or is it a lead issue once it leaves the CSR to the dispatcher, and then the dispatcher dispatches that to a technician? The technician goes out to a job, or they dispatch it to a salesperson. Now, is it an issue when you go out to a job, you give an estimate, and there's no follow-up, or there is follow-up, or there's poor follow-up, or there's not enough follow-up? The big question I always want to ask is, when you do follow-up on a lead, how are you doing that? What's the process? What's the system? There should be a system to every single thing that you do and a process to everything that you do when it comes to leads that come into your office. You should be able to see where the leads are coming from, and you should be able to have a follow-up system. We always told our office this. We said, look, when a lead comes in, if they don't answer the call, or if, let's say it was a lead where we were texting a lead, we were given an email lead or something of that nature, we said you're going to call them, you're going to email them, and you're going to text them. Then you're going to call them again, you're going to text them again, and you're going to email them again. Look at it from this perspective. You spent good money on that lead, so make the most of that lead. So now let's go back to this. Is it an issue more of with the lead? It goes from the CSR to the DSR. It's dispatched out to the technician. The technician goes out to the job. The technician doesn't sell the job or does not make the most of the job. Now, leads falling through the cracks can equally be as this, is that you're not maximizing every single job you guys go out to. Once again, something I don't know. But I see this all the time where they don't maximize opportunity on every single job they go out to. And then we hear, well, there just was no money on the job. No, there's always money on a job. You just didn't know how to find the money on that job, or you weren't trained on how to find that money on that job. So now let's take it to the next step. Let's just say it's an estimate. You go out, you give an estimate, the estimate comes back to the office. What's the process on managing the estimate that came into your office from a client? So I have clients right now. I have clients that I work with. He had given out 8 estimates. I said, did you follow up? He goes, no, I'm waiting for them to call me back. I said, you never wait for them to call you back. Your number one job is if you email an estimate, you call the customer right there on the spot. Miss Jones, hey, check it out. Look, we just sent your estimate over for the furnace that you wanted to have replaced. It's in your email box. If you want to open it now, we can go ahead and discuss it. If you don't have time right this very moment, we can discuss it a little bit later, but I will call you back at a certain amount of time. The goal was to get him to start being proactive in following up on those leads so they don't fall through the crack. So what he did was this. He said, I called all 8 of them. I got all 8 of them on the phone. I closed 7 out of the 8, all because he took the initiative to follow up on those leads. So I go back to this one thing. What's your process for following up on leads when they come into your office? Now, let's say that you follow up, they don't answer. Great. What do? What's the process? So the process for me is I call them again. And I'm looking at it like this. I'm looking for what's the language this client likes to talk. Language being, do they like email? Do they like phone? Or do they like text? So that's why I'm a big proponent of we send a text, we send an email, and we make a phone call because we're looking for how they like to communicate individually as far as that goes. So the big question I'm going to have for you is this. What are your processes when it comes to managing leads that come into your office? And what are you doing to create new processes if you don't have one to manage those leads? And what's the real reason why your leads are falling through the crack? because it costs a lot of money to get a client. Your cost of acquisition can be very high at times. I've seen leads to where, and you're in the Los Angeles area, I have clients that are in the Los Angeles who are in the plumbing part. They're spending $125 a call, per phone call. Every time you mismanage a phone call, that's $125 you just gave away, not including what the average ticket of that call was, because either the call was answered poorly, or the call wasn't answered at all, or your CSR had no idea what to say, or there was no sense of urgency. You see, I can make a whole list around this right here, but if I could say one thing, look and isolate where your leads are falling through the crack, and then we can come up with a plan. Coming up with a plan to fix this is pretty simple. Part of that may just be simple training for who answers your calls, or your technicians, or your salespeople, or whatever it is in the field. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just isolating those areas where the leads are really falling through the cracks. So if you could at least just answer that for me, just what area are the leads falling through the cracks? Because I may be totally off with anything I've said today, but from what I've seen in my experience of owning 5 different service businesses, also having over 24,000 customers, we've answered a lot of phone calls. I'm talking tons and tons and tons of phone calls, and we've seen where leads fall through the crack. And what typically happens is, and one of the things we always hear, well, I don't want to make them mad. You're not going to make them mad at all. They're going to be grateful that you followed up, because the greasy wheel is what gets the grease, or the squeaky wheel gets the grease, not the greasy wheel. The greasy wheel just gets a little bit less grease. But listen, the point here is this. Isolate the area that's causing the lead issue, where your leads are falling through the cracks. Isolate that one area, and then let's figure out how we can create a process around it, or maybe just a training plan. Let's just say we get on a call, have your CSRs all get on a call. We just do a quick training. We do a 30-minute training on how to answer a call. I mean, it's so simple and so big at the same time, because if they don't do the certain things that moves the needle forward, then we need to change that, and we need to change that quickly. All right, Dan, listen, man, I appreciated you being on the call the other night. You're an awesome dude. I love you, man. I wish you the very best holiday weekend, but I wanted to make sure we sent this over to you and just let you know we appreciate you so much, buddy. Have a great day, man. Bye-bye.